Hi, my name is Deshaun Malone, and my informative speech project will be about the history of the lobster and how it got, how it is the way it is now. It starts back to 250 million years ago in the Permian period, where it states that the lobster was first noticed and got its name then, but the first time it was consumed by a human was 11,000 years ago. The beginning stages of the lobster begins in the 1600s and more, as most lobsters then were served. Lobster was more served as a prisoner food, as it was given to servants, slaves, and lower class individuals who who were given the lobster as like a dirty, kind of like leftover type of food for them instead of eating like the higher class foods like normal, like eating inside and nice foods. But lobster was usually like the dirty, nasty food and jail food that they used to eat. In the early 1900s, the lobster, or in the in the 1800s, lobster was a useful tool for soldiers and people fighting in the Civil War, as it was given in small little cans and passed around to help fulfill the soldiers' needs and much more during battle and help them pursue what they were doing. Years later in the 1900s, lobster was still considered one of the nastiest foods, nasty and dirty foods of the sea. Reason specified as lobsters are known as the cockroach of the sea, the nasty sea monster or sea animal that crawls on the ground and just floors the bottom of the sea that no one wants to eat. And just seen as like they pile up shores 2 feet. An article stating that by Jessica Tyler that it would stack up to 2 feet from washed up from shores. Another reason is abundance, as lobsters weren't really cleaned and they weren't really cleaned and cooked right when given to people. So it was just raw meat, raw and nasty meat. Another reason, and then moving forward into 1900s, when railroads and train transportation started to get more bigger, the lobster also became bigger, as it started to be served on transportation devices such as later planes, but mainly that's in the future. But in the past, more like trains and all those other type of uses of transportation, they'd be given to them as meals, and people started to understand that, maybe the lobster isn't a type of dirty seafood. It's actually more of like a higher class, great resource for us and marketing tool. As I also don't, I never really ate lobster growing up until I tried it and realized like, maybe it's kind of good. Because just looking at it, I was just, I don't know, I don't really like crustaceans and stuff like that. But you know, you can't knock it until you try it. Anyways, moving moving towards the 1900s, the popularity of the lobster started to gain more and more and more. The higher power people started to understand like this is a good tool, and the stock of the lobster grew. As in the 1900s, people started to actually cook the lobsters live instead of eating the lobster raw, and that's how they started to come up with more recipes and different tools to exploit the lobster for its usage, such as eating lobster tail, cooking the inside of the lobster, fried lobster, and much more places. As it grew more and more and more, and entering the early 2000s to 2025, lobster has grew substantially, substantially, and even has its own restaurant named Red Lobster, as many people would know, which is a big usage of the lobster image. It has the personal tank where they get the live lobsters and they cook them, compared to what they used to do in the past. But in 2025 today, lobsters make up about make up to $3 to $5 billion of income, but that comes with a lot of harvesting and exploiting from New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maryland, where that's the main warm water salt areas that the lobsters are bred and are warmed. And in summary, just to think about, like, the lobster has like it went from like a very low income food to a very high power food in only 100 years, like 150 years, just off people understanding and realizing like what they could do and exploit the marketing value of it. And as they're doing many other seafoods like crab, shrimp, crawfish, and crayfish, as there's many seafood places today that use lobster for like seafood boils and other recipes and sauces to make show the greatness of the lobster. And many people don't understand how much the lobster has grown over time, as it's very overlooked, but it is the most expensive now seafood in today's world.